joining us today for episode, yes, it's hard to believe, 18 of Survive and Thrive Challenge. I'm Laura Brandao, the president of Vaillancour, and I would love to introduce you all to our fantastic challengers tonight. From Maine, we have Danielle Stumper. She is the operations manager at North Star Mortgage. From Eugene, Oregon, we have Cheri Vaillancour. She is a legal talent advisor and coach. And from Houston, Texas, we have Kim Hoffman, the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Envoy Mortgage. For those first timers out there, let me tell you how we got here. Well, about 18 weeks ago now, when shelter in place first started and all of the height of the pandemic, my good friend Seppi from Tago reached out to me and said, Laura, oh my goodness, we just went shelter in place. What am I going to do? Well, what she didn't realize was that instead of me saying, no worries, I said, oh, you have no idea what is happening in the mortgage industry. We certainly have our own situation happening here. And at that moment, she said, Laura, why don't we go on Facebook and why don't we share what we're experiencing? We did that in week 1, and we decided to continue to do this. But the best component of it is that every week, the challengers nominate the next week's guest. So that way we get a wide array of different people from our industry to let us know how they initially survived and now how they're thriving. So let's get started. Danielle, take us back to middle of March, okay? You've got that initial shock of, okay, you can't work in the office. Interest rates are falling. Well, actually, not just falling, they were bouncing all over the place. Yeah. I mean, we were saying programs were going away, lenders were changing guidelines. All of this craziness is happening in addition to whatever is happening in your personal life. Tell us what that initial reaction was and what was happening in your world.
So second week of March, I was actually just getting back from taking my daughters to Disney. Oh. It was their first Disney trip. Yep. So we got back and I remember my first oh gosh moment. We were in the Orlando airport, and when we had left, there was probably under 100 cases in the US. And I looked up at the news because of course we were at Disney and I wasn't, really paying attention, and it was over 1,000. And I thought, okay, here we go. This is definitely a big deal. So we get home, and then of course we have shelter in place. Like you mentioned, I mean, rates were all over the place. I had people reaching out about, should I do a forbearance? Just so many things happening. Couldn't find any toilet paper. I mean, it was just
that was a problem.
Yeah. It was very surreal, had never experienced anything like it. Of course, I have a daughter in kindergarten. So like a lot of other parents, I was balancing, okay, we're working from home. I'm doing homeschooling with my daughter, and I'm getting her through the year. It was intense. I will also say I definitely felt a lot of anxiety from it. It was a lot. I didn't know what to expect other than, okay, we're going to stay home. We're going to go out as little as possible. And, just try to make it work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's take a couple of questions here. So when you were in Disney, was anything different at that time, or really no difference at Disney?
No difference. I mean, there were just, tons of people, and it was business as usual. I think they actually closed Disney the week after we got back. So it kind of went from 0 to 100. Like there was no middle ground, I don't believe.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you come back from Disney. Obviously now you're like, oh my goodness, I was just with a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
Kind of just, during that stage of, okay, let's start Googling symptoms and things like that, I'm sure.
Yes.
So, okay. How are you dealing with work and homeschooling? How did
Yeah,
that go?
it was challenging. So my husband was also working from home. He works in IT, so we're very fortunate. We both have careers that we had that option. So that helped a little bit. We were kind of able to balance it out. Like, you take this time, I take this time. I'm in a meeting now, and we kind of helped each other help her. So that was great. But, I think what I also learned about people in general is that they're just so understanding. There were definitely times where I was on the phone with a client and they probably heard Paw Patrol in the background, or maybe like some screaming. And, I had to be like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm working from home, with my kids. And I think everyone was, like, oh, we completely understand, we're doing the same thing, or like, thank you for, doing your part, and staying home. So it was definitely refreshing to know that people really like understood.
Yes, that definitely was something we all gained out of
Yes.
that understanding.
Yeah.
How was it with your daughter understanding what was going on? Like, I'm curious at that age. I know it's kind of like, might be too early for her to fully grasp. So, but how
Yeah.
did you explain what was happening?
So they're 4 and 6. I think my 4-year-old is, she just kind of knows, like, people are getting sick, like we're not going to be able to see like grandma and grandpa, we gotta stay home. And it was hard at first, like, like, why can't we see our friends? And, we can't see our family. But, we kind of just like tried to make it up to them, and, spend the other thing too is, obviously we got more time with them. So that was helpful, for them to feel, like appreciated and all of that. But I think it's still kind of high level for them. I mean, they're young, so yeah.
Yeah, great. All right, awesome. All right, Cheri, let us know what's happening in your world during this middle of March time.
Yeah, well, I had left a 35-year career in Silicon Valley to start my own business.
Oh, perfect,
So,
perfect timing, Cheri.
yeah, I know. Couldn't have timed that any better. So I left the law firm in April of last year and decided I was just going to take the rest of the year off. So I wasn't really doing much to build my business at that time. I started working in November of last year and was just, getting a number of coaching clients. I had some really great consulting work. It was all in Silicon Valley. So I was flying back and forth, spending more time in Silicon Valley than I was here in Eugene. And had just submitted a proposal to a large New York firm for a project that would have been really fun. And I would have been in New York for 5 or 6 weeks. Another project in Silicon Valley was going to start in a week, and then pandemic. So all of my consulting work, it was all with law firms, and they were all on lockdown. So it all just kind of went away. Not really away, just, we're still talking about it. We're talking about how to do it. Some of it can be done, by phone and remotely, and other pieces just can't. So there's a lot of work that probably won't happen until next year, which is okay. So I'm just doing the coaching work now, and that's been enjoyable and fun. And, I guess I'm just trying to keep things in perspective and be grateful that I'm no longer working 75 hours a week.
There you go. You've looked at the bonus prize. So Cheri, what's going through your mind as all of this is coming at you? You've just, you made this monumental change in your life. Okay. You decided you were going to let some time go and then start doing some business development. And all of a sudden this happens. What's running through your brain during that time?
I've dealt with anxiety and depression most of my life, and I've gotten it under control. And I guess, what I did was I just took a deep breath and thought, this isn't good, but it's going to be okay. I've always been okay. And so I've just tried to be grateful for the work that I do have. And there have been a lot of good things that have come out of this for me. I've lived by myself my entire adult life. I'm very comfortable being alone. I like my own company. I'm not someone who needs to be around people all the time, even though I've been, in a human resources talent development role throughout my career. So I guess I didn't feel any sense of panic or worry. I just tried to relax and keep telling myself this is going to be okay.
Good. No, but that's excellent. And the reason why I asked that especially is, okay, so if you figured out how to do that, what is a tip for others of what is it saying everything's going to be okay? Like does that help? Like, or what is a recommendation that maybe works for you that could help people be able to, it's going to be okay? Or maybe if it is putting it into perspective and being grateful for, the whatever is, going on okay.
I guess I just know I'm a strong person and I've gotten myself out of difficult situations in the past, and I've been fortunate that I've had friends and family to support me. And I guess what's helped me through this in a lot of ways is being there for other people. Because I know there are, I have a lot of friends who really feel isolated and alone, and they feel like, they can't be with their friends or family, they can't travel, everything has changed for them. And sometimes just listening and letting them know that, your feelings are what they are, and you don't try to suppress them or feel that, you're wrong, or that you're somehow weak because you're feeling what you're feeling. What you're experiencing is real, and
right.
you just need to own that, work through it. And, as Danielle said, people are good and people want to help.
Well, I think that's a great recommendation. Awesome. All right, Kim, I know you had a lot going on in that mid-March time. So let's hear it. What was happening in your world?
Well, my world's, like every mortgage banker, the interest rates are hitting historical levels. Volume is skyrocketing. But at the same time, I was, I had this false sense of security being in the U.S. I thought, we're the U.S. This is happening, but we have the best medical system, et cetera. So it didn't really, early on, the pandemic part didn't faze me here. But I have 250 employees and, close to 50, 75 employees with a vendor in India.
Oh.
And so I had spent mostly the month of November in India. So I very quickly turned my attention there because I became very, very concerned. The density of the population there is just extraordinary. Over, I think, 1.5 billion people living in very, close proximity. They don't have the health infrastructure that we do, and what hospitals they have are not available to everybody. And in fact, I had a nightmare about the pandemic spreading through India, much like the fires that we see, on TV when we see it on in California. And I became very, very concerned for my friends and for my employees there. They kept telling me, no, don't worry, everything will be fine here. The numbers are very low, but there's a segment of India which is very organized, and that's reported on. And then there's a segment which is very difficult to report on when you have so many people. But we decided, about a week before everybody else, because there's tons of BPOs and tons of U.S. companies in India, but we decided about a week before the rest of the organized companies there started, thinking about what are they going to do during a pandemic. We started moving people home. I felt like, I could get very comfortable with that. These are our employees. My vendor was, they're good friends of mine. They're people at Sutherland Mortgage Services. I used to work with them and headed up their operations for them. And so I was very comfortable with the whole concept of work from home in India, although it's taboo in India. Nobody works from home. Yeah. And nobody has laptops. Everybody has a desktop. So if you can imagine, we moved, almost 300 people between me, our employees and the vendor home with desktops, 2 monitors, and the infrastructure for IT. People don't have internet in India like we do in our homes. So we had to come up with these little toggles and things so people could access the internet. We did all that in less than 2 weeks, and we were 97% productive in that 2 weeks.
Wow.
And my team in India always tells me, Kim, everything is possible. And they certainly made a believer out of me. They're just extraordinary. And I still worry, you know, for their health, but I'm now equally worried for our health as well, because it's kind of blown out of control here as well as there. But we're still closing record volumes. The teams are all staying healthy. We video check in weekly to keep that sense of community. And so we're thriving, unbelievably so, in a pandemic.
Oh, wait,
thriving.
keep the thriving part. We're going to get to that one next. All right, so a couple of questions. So what about your US team? Were they already remote, or did you also have to move all of them remote?
So our corporate headquarters are in Houston, which, by the way, is my hometown. So I was thrilled to be able, I moved back here about 4 years ago, but we are in a hurricane-prone area.
Right.
So our BCP, as everybody in corporate, has laptops, and we can shift to work from home very quickly. We're distributed retail, so our branches are all over the country. Yep. Work from home here is pretty normal for us, so it wasn't that, you know, it wasn't that big of a transition for us. I think what was the big transition is that now we're all work from home. It's how do we maintain that sense of community and defeat that sense of isolation, because we're not all tuned into one another. So I think it was much easier for us from that perspective.
Awesome. All right, wonderful. Well, that is quite a big feat that you accomplished there. So congratulations on that. All right. Okay. So Danielle, fast forward. Okay. Now we've gone through this. All right. We went through our initial, holy moly, this is what we've got to deal with and all of that. But now it's 18 weeks later. Okay. Kim just said it. We're thriving. Like, the mortgage industry is doing record numbers. We actually have higher production, like out of per person, you're getting higher production out of every individual working within our industry. It's incredible, right? You're seeing things accomplished that we never would have expected, which is wonderful. So what I want to know is, okay, all these lessons that you've learned, one you touched on, you know, the people being kind and accepting. I think we've all seen that, and that's wonderful. But what are some things that you learned throughout this that, regardless if the magic wand came out today and everything went back to the way it was before March, what would you continue doing because you actually learned from this experience?
I think for me, the biggest thing was, so when this all unfolded, you know, I had a pretty busy pipeline, but you know, things slowed down, and I was able to take time, you know, not only, you know, to work on like my own processes and like really get organized. Like, I know Lee mentioned paperless and you know.
This company here, just so you know, ladies, they were paper files before all of this.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and they switched to going fully paperless during this. So yes, that was a big accomplishment.
So like really I had more time to kind of focus on myself and making improvements, both like, you know, in work and home life. And what I've learned is that like I'm busier than I've ever been. My pipeline is exploding. I'm, you know, so grateful for that. But I'm still like making sure I carve out enough time for myself, because it's really helping me, like, you know, yes, I'm busy, but if I can take that time every day for myself and reflecting, it's only helping me. And, you know, I'm going to continue to do that. Absolutely. I was telling Lee earlier, it's kind of funny, but I joined a book club. So I mean, I'm just trying to do things that, you know, maybe in other times I would have put off because I'm so busy, but really making sure that I'm still
so Danielle, let me ask you a question about that. Okay. All right. Because put this into perspective, right? We're saying that we have time, but yet we've all stated that we're busier than we have ever been in the mortgage business.
Yeah.
But yet we still find that we have more time. So why do we have more time? Like why do you feel, even though you're so busy, your pipeline's exploding, why is there more time? What is cut out that maybe you were doing before?
Yeah, I think it's efficiency. I mean, my processor and I now have shared drives, and it's not like here, we're sending files here and sending files here, or here's the paper file. It's efficiency. I mean, we've become efficient, and that's freed up this time that, yes, I could use to, maybe get a few more loans in the pipeline, but instead, I'm focusing on improving myself, and then that I know that will in the long run that's going to be more beneficial to me.
I love that. That's great. So look at how you grew through this, right? Yeah. And now you guys are picking up efficiency. And Danielle, I'm just going to give one piece of advice there. You never have to apologize for taking care of yourself. Like, meaning don't feel guilty for that.
Right. I'm learning.
Taking care of yourself will make you a great mom, a great wife, a great leader, a great originator, a great everything. So take that time, enjoy it. You need it. All right, Cheri.
Yes. Well, I decided that with all this time on my hands, I was going to come up with a plan for how I was going to make the best use of this time. I started hearing friends talk about how, they were just watching TV and watching movies and sort of joking about the fact that they fully expected to put on 15 or 20 pounds. And I just decided, no, that's not going to happen. So I outfitted my gym, or my garage, just put in a gym, and I've been working out every day. So that's been good. I started cooking, just doing some, cooking new cuisines. I put in a vegetable garden.
Wow.
I spend at least an hour reading every day, and usually more. I've read 30 books since March.
Wow. Danielle, she needs to be part of the book club.
Yeah, she put me to shame.
So most of the business books that I've accumulated that have been on my bookshelf that I've just never read, and so I'm going through those, reading a lot of Harvard Business Review articles, and designing some training programs that eventually I hope to deliver. I'm also doing some pro bono coaching for law students who are starting their first job as lawyers in the fall. Just giving them some tips and tools for how to be successful. The firms that I work with,
we should have her put the recent college graduate law people into the talent hub. Like I'm literally, we need lawyers in our industry also. So I'm just thinking about that. That actually is a good tie-in. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just thinking of how we can bring talent into our industry. All right, go ahead.
So, I've just been sticking to the plan. I get up really early. I meditate. I'm just doing a lot of things that I wanted to do in the past, but I would get pulled in different directions. And, when I was working full time. And so it was hard to get traction. And now I've sort of gotten traction in everything. So it's just like my life right now is so different than it was a year ago, but in so many better ways. I'm grateful for that.
So it's very interesting that here we are, week 18. So I've heard all these other people's stories, and almost every single week, someone says that comment. Someone says, my life feels better like this. And usually it leads to a discussion of how do we make sure that we keep these things that we've learned about ourselves, that we're enjoying, that we're getting so much value out of, and it's making our lives more fulfilled. How do we maintain that? So that's a rhetorical question, but just something that we should all think about. All right, Kim, tell me all the wonderful things you've learned that you're going to continue.
For me personally, this has been an awakening. We're all in the mortgage business. We're so laser focused on what we do every day. Just the innate drive to get out of bed, rush to the office, spend all day at the office, rush home, have dinner, and get on the internet and check your emails. We work a lot. What this has really shown me is that working from home in this environment, you can be far more flexible with the time and how you utilize that time. So like Cheri, you can work out in the morning. I have a gym also in my house, and you're able to do that because now you're not jumping in the car and heading off to work. And so you can still do the same amount of hours. In fact, I would challenge for anybody to tell me they're working less now, because I think everybody's working more. But the way that we're working, the hours are more flexible as to when we're working, right? So you may still be working 12, 14-hour days just because we're in this historical boom, but you have the flexibility to manage when you're doing that. And so are the employees. I think everybody is, we're working like crazy, but we're so happy. And we're spending time in an environment that we love, being at home. I can't tell you that I've ever spent probably, if you think about how much time you spend at home, if you're going to an office, it's not very much.
No.
But now we're spending time in our homes. We're spending time on relationships because you do have that flexibility. I don't think that we're ever going to go back to an environment to where we don't have a level of flexibility and control over how we spend our time. I really don't. I think it'd be incredibly demoralizing if, when this is all over, we shift back from this, which has become our new normal, and go back to, the brick and mortar, where we're in there for, whatever defined hours. And that's, kind of where our life is. I think that that's part of the past. I'm hopeful that it is.
Yeah, and what about at your company? Is that kind of what the rationale is? Like you had mentioned that in the US, everybody had that flexibility, but is everybody feeling really good at home and confident that they're being extremely productive and happy? And so everybody's I can speak for my company. Everybody's like, why would I go back to the office? Why would I drive 45 minutes to an hour to go somewhere where I could be working out at the house and then jump on and do my job? So what are you hearing?
So it's interesting because in the U.S., I think that we're all very satisfied with this work from home. The productivity, I've heard, when everything opens, people are going to be less focused. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think that they'll still continue to work. We know what the productivity is. And so I think people in the U.S. will be very happy to have flexibility. Maybe they'll want to go into the office every once in a while, see their friends, et cetera, and have kind of a hybrid where you create the flexibility, right? Your work is done. You determine whether it's in the office or at home. Where it becomes a little more challenging for me is that my team in India, so much of the culture and their socialization happens at work.
Oh.
So in the work environment, in that office environment, they have dance parties, they have cook-offs. They really have an extraordinary amount of collective community within those spaces. They are really feeling the disconnect from that. We're trying to help and have video dance parties and little Bollywood, and so forth.
How does that go? How is that going, Kim?
Well, it's not going quite so well for me. I've told them mine will happen sometime between now and November when I can do some more Bollywood lessons online. But they're missing that sense of connectivity, that they have with one another. And that's hard. So we're struggling, I don't want to say struggling, but we have to be very conscientious that we stay connected with them virtually as often as we can. And they're doing that also. So they'll have virtual parties as well. It's a big key part of them. Not so much here. When we leave the office, that's kind of it for us,
Yeah.
So that was unique. I didn't really, going into this, I wasn't prepared for that. So I'm much smarter at it now.
And I appreciate you sharing that, because that's obviously something different for all of us, right? That we weren't aware of. So that is key that you shared that. So thank you. All right. Well, ladies, you were awesome. You're absolutely amazing. I loved hearing all of your stories. You did a great job. Now it is time to hear who will be on episode 19. Oh my goodness gracious. Danielle, who do we have?
It'll be Brendan Fontaine. He's a loan officer here at our Auburn office.
Awesome. Can't wait to meet Brendan this way. Awesome. Cheri, who do we have?
We have Piper Watson. She is an executive coach from Tucson, Arizona.
Wonderful. Can't wait. All right, Kim, who do we have?
Our good friend, Susie Lindblom, the COO from Planet Homes.
Awesome. Can't wait to have her on the show. All right, ladies, great job. Thank you so much. Be well. Take care, everybody. Take care.
Take
guys.
care. Bye-bye. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.